Welcome to my channel. You can see here that I've started to work on the steering components, and in particular with the tie rod ends that you can see here. So what I've done is I've removed all six. So you've got obviously the two arms for the wheels, and then you've got the arm that runs from the steering box to the steering relay. So that all together it makes six. And yeah, they were a bit difficult to get out, as you can imagine. They start getting kind of corroded into threads and so on. So I did the usual trick of mine. If you've been watching my videos, you would know what that is. But I'll give you a little quiz. Did I use A, soapy water, B, petrol, C, diesel, or D, WD-40? Which one did I use? Anyway, enough of that. Let's get cracking with this. Now, one of the things I haven't, I wasn't aware of until recently, and as I said with this project, I'm learning as I'm going as well, is that there has been a change between the design of the way these tie rod ends mate with the actual rod. Now, here's an example of the two different types. Straight away you can pick that one's got a thread all the way through, and the other one's got this little shoulder area here, and then the thread. In terms of the top parts, they're almost identical. I think this older one here is actually slightly shorter. If I was to compare the two, you see that roughly it's shorter, but nevertheless the main focus is on here. Now, what I've read is that you can't mix and match these two with the rod. So if the rod has a shoulder, you've got to use the one with the shoulder. If the rod hasn't got the shoulder, you use the full thread. And I believe this one was used post 75, roughly. 74, 75, they changed it to this full thread type. Now, if you're wondering what I mean by shoulder on the rod, which mates up to this bit here, if I look at this rod here, for example, and I'll see if I can get up a good light for you here. Here we go. Right, so you can see there's a shoulder there from the top, and you can see where the thread starts, and then the thread runs down further. And so, excuse me, I've got a little bit of a cold, so my voice is worse than what it usually is. So what it means is that when you screw this in, the clamps will actually clamp on the rod on the shoulder area here. Now, what I've read is that if you use a full thread one and you clamp it where the shoulder is, obviously you've got limited grip because you're only riding on the top ridges of the thread, as opposed to a nice flat surface here, which will give you full coverage, I suppose, of the clamp. So there you have it. I think it's very important, and you want to make sure that if you've got a shoulder, particularly given that these vehicles are now very old, there's been a lot of chopping and changing and so on going on, and these ones came out of the track rod arms which have a shoulder on it. So whoever replaced these, and you can tell that they're actually kind of relatively new, they're probably 5-10 years old type of thing. I gave them a bit of a clean up, but then I realised that they're completely useless because they didn't have this shoulder on here. So I'm going to have to order 6 of these, this style. So this bit of information, as I said, I read, and I thought it was important to pass on because I certainly didn't know about it. And I hope that when you get to do yours, if you do them, that you pay particular attention to the different styles. In the meantime, I'll keep cracking with the build, and yeah, until next time. Thanks for watching.